Welcome to another episode of the Way of BJJ podcast. As always, due to strong language, inappropriate analogies, please do not listen to this around your kids. Now let's get to the podcast. This is going to be the first of our podcast episodes where we're actually doing visual
Oh, nice.
as well. So that's yeah. And
Sick.
I know because the reason is pretty straightforward. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be with this good-looking guy, Patrick. You know, might as well gain more listenership and viewership just by whoring you out a little bit. Yeah, because if it's just videos of me and Tuna, people will probably be turning it off, and obviously we'll be losing people that way. But with you, and just for some fan service, I'll probably ask you to take your shirt off midway through. Just
Okay. Only pods.
Yeah, I know, only pods. That's great. So I'm actually here at your home gym.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's pretty sick, man. You know,
Thanks,
you turn the garage into a gym, which we got everything we need. You know, you got your you got your squat rack over here. Then there's a pull-up bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's pretty much the only two things you're gonna need. You know, and
Kind of.
you got your Olympic bars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, you got your landmine.
Got the Airdyne.
Yeah, I know the
Super
Airdyne.
key
Oh my
jiu-jitsu
God.
conditioning tool.
I know, trying not to make eye contact with the Airdyne.
I might call you over.
Yeah, so because this is a jiu-jitsu podcast, right? So, but I feel like we have a pretty important topic to discuss today, right? So, because Patrick is a really good friend, and he's also a lifelong martial artist, and he's been involved with the fitness industry, strength and conditioning, all that kind of stuff, for the past, how long would you say?
10 years?
10 years, John? Yeah, I know he looks like a baby, but the looks can be deceiving. He's been in the industry for a while.
Yes, sir.
And,
Started early.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so do you want to kind of give our listeners a little bit of a intro about how you got into martial arts? How you got into fitness and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I think I got into fitness. I've always been into fitness because I've always been a very active child. Grew up playing a shitload of soccer, shitload of volleyball, just every sport. But when I was 15, I got into kickboxing and grappling and jiu-jitsu and all the MMA martial arts. And then that was that, man.
Yeah. And what school were you training at that time?
I was at Dynamic MMA, which then became Checkmat, which then is now Pinnacle.
Right.
So,
But has it been in the same location this whole time, or since you started, or was it?
No, before it was right on, right by Lansdowne, on where East Spot used to be, in Richmond.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like one of the early guys there, but there were even earlier guys before me because that school used to actually be on Cambie Street in Vancouver. So then they moved to Richmond, and then now they're at the spot they're at now.
I know. Yeah, I know you're really big into fitness and everything, but I think martial art will always have a place dear in your heart.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, that shit taught me so much about. And
you were kickboxing and grappling up until like how long ago?
I was going really, really hard from the time I was like 15 to maybe 23, where I was averaging maybe like 10 to 14 hour training weeks. But then I started to get into other things, snowboarding.
We'll get back to that in a bit.
Yeah.
The beginning of your demise. No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that, but. Yeah, and during that time, have you ever thought? Were you training for a purpose? Were you thinking about like competing, or were you thinking about turning fighting or martial art into a career at all?
Yeah, it was definitely always in the back of my mind. But I was. This is a whole separate conversation. But I feel like I fucked up my whole teenage years of training because I was lifting every day and I was running every day and I was doing the martial arts and I was doing the soccer and everything because I just love this shit so much.
Yeah.
That it really became like a bad addiction, and so I was just always overtrained, and so I was just never performing that well, even though I was so focused on trying to do everything at once.
Yeah, I'll definitely to find a time to come back to have that discussion.
Yeah,
because that's where having a good coach comes in. I guess.
Absolutely.
But anyways, yeah. So what rank did you achieve in jiu-jitsu since Way of BJJ? That's what I'm asking.
So I was always doing no-gi grappling.
Right.
So
back then they were like not ranking people in no-gi or whatever.
They were not ranking people in no-gi, so I would pull up. I didn't I didn't even have a gi until maybe I was like, I started training at 15, and I didn't even have a gi until I was maybe like 20, because one of my jiu-jitsu coaches, Matt Trudeau, gave me his really old smelly gi. And because
Thanks,
it was,
Matt.
and because it was
could have given him a brand new one.
That's it, dude. And because it was so smelly and ill-fitting, it turned me off to gi jiu-jitsu even more. So I was like, fuck this shit, dude. I'd rather be sweaty in my fucking cotton t-shirt, rash guard, or whatever.
I might still smell like ass, but at least it's my ass.
Yeah. But I don't know, man, if I had to like self-diagnose my rank, I'd be like maybe like a 3-stripe white belt or something.
Yeah. So
yeah, always more of a striker than a grappler for sure.
Yeah. So your main focus when you were training was like, hey, you know what? Don't get taken down. If I get taken down, you know, stand back up, or you know that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Which can be extremely effective, you know, as we know.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah, you know, there's like a meme saying like, hey, the jiu-jitsu coach tell you you'll only be training with white belts today, and then two of the guys is like Khamzat Chimaev and Khabib, right?
Yeah,
in their gi with the white belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, like nowadays, I mean, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for such a long time. I started in like 2008.
15 years.
Yeah, I know, man. But I think I can see the progression, like rank is mean. I mean, from a competitive level speaking, rank is the meaning of rank is being diminished, right? It's mattering less and less now.
I would agree.
Right?
With
like
that.
I think when I first started, if a blue belt beats a black belt, you know, it's got like the world is crashing down. You know, like the world is gonna end. Like, no way, this is gonna fucking happen. But how often do we see that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, more often
exactly.
than you think.
That paradigm really shifted for me like a few years ago when Khamzat was just running through everybody, and then I saw in some interview that he was only like a jiu-jitsu blue belt, and I was like, what the fuck? But this guy's literally taking everybody down, smothering everybody, strangling the fuck out of everybody, and he's a blue belt. So
yeah, man, dude. Yeah, I mean, so it turns out like high-level wrestlers, you know, because they already have such great head and arm control. Right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. They have like really good head and arm control. They have really good instinct to chase the back, right? So all you really have to do is to teach them like how to finish from those positions, right? So another great example is this guy Michael Pixley. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, but anyways, he's like a NCAA champ, I think, or one of the high level champs, or maybe NCIA, I don't know. Sure. Anyways, but to be a champ in the U.S. in any level of wrestling is tough, right? So he's like a national champion, right? So same thing. He joined that one of the more famous teams nowadays, Daisy Fresh, right? He joined that team. You heard about Daisy Fresh? Right?
Nope.
No. Anyways, yeah. So joined this team called Daisy Fresh. Is named after a laundromat, believe it or not, because they moved into like an abandoned laundromat to train, and they never bothered to take out the sign, so it's just Daisy Fresh.
Oh, nice.
But anyways, he joined the team, right? And then and then easily after like 6 months of training, easily tapping out black belts with like darce chokes and stuff, just because he's really already black belt level in those positions, right? So he just has to put himself in positions where he's the strongest, and then he can beat like high level people. And then he was like a white belt and early blue at that point, So
right, because I guess back in the day, it's like jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it was just there was no wrestling involved in jiu-jitsu at all, so that was the big
just
gap.
Come into my guard.
Yeah, and so now the gap is really closing, and I feel like just high-level grappling is just high-level grappling, and that's it. Like whether it's sambo or wrestling or jiu-jitsu or judo.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we can go down this conversation, for the whole interview if we, if I don't kind of rein us back a little bit, right? But the most important thing I want to talk to you about today is actually your journey from coming back from your brain injury, right? Because I feel like even though you didn't get your brain injury from like martial art related training or jiu-jitsu,
but I've had a history of
martial
arts related.
But I think that might have contributed
concussions, 100%,
right, to how bad it actually got, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's why I feel like it's so important for us to talk about it. I mean, it's like, so why don't we start by you just kind of talking about your brain health history and what eventually led to that more serious injury?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, like when I was a kid, or when I was when I was a teenager, I was just burning the candle from all ends, just playing so many different sports at a decent level as well. So with that, I racked up like 10 plus concussions, like a couple from football, a couple from soccer, one from cliff jumping, a couple from snowboarding, a lot from kickboxing. And by concussion, like a lot of people like say they're concussed, but like by concussion, what I mean is like you really get the signs and symptoms of like seeing stars and throwing up and headaches for 2+ weeks. So long history of that, which is also actually why I kind of reined myself back from striking and just martial arts in general at the age of 23 to kind of give myself the chance to heal and recover while doing safer sports.
Like snowboarding.
Yeah, it was a little stupid. But anyways, fast forward to I was 2 years ago, snowboarding in the backcountry. Great snow that day, horrible visibility, but you know how it is, you snowboard as well.
That's how they get you, man. You're like, man,
exactly.
the temptation. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
holy shit, look at that power. Let's
Yeah,
go.
exactly. So I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I shouldn't go out to the backside on this particular day, but sometimes you're just in a mood. So I did do it, and I was feeling good. But before you know it, I hit a patch of ice. I fly off a cliff that's maybe 50, 60, maybe 70 feet.
Each time he tells the story, it just gets higher.
No, it's always 50, 60, 70. I don't know exactly what it was, but I start flying through the air. I'm tumbling, and I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm dying for sure, because it's like rocks and trees and everything at the bottom. But miraculously, I wake up caught in a tree, like in a bunch of branches. My arm is here, my board is balanced precariously on another branch, and I wake up, and I was like, what the fuck happened? I'm still alive. And I truly didn't know what happened, but luckily there was 2 other snowboarders and skiers that saw what happened, and they said that I flew off this cliff. I was ragdolling, kind of somersaulting, tumbling all the way down. Halfway down, I slammed my face against a tree stump, and that knocked me out cold. And then they were saying from that point on, I was really like limp body, just ragdolling the rest of the way down until I got caught in this tree. And yeah, they call, I get lifted out, go to the hospital with the neck brace and the whole shebang. And that led to a lot of brain health issues over the last 2 years that I have been recovering from.
Damn, man. Yeah. So let's go. I know. I'm sorry to make you relive that traumatic experience.
Okay, man. I've written about it a lot.
I know. I mean, and it's been long enough that we can kind of laugh about it.
I can definitely laugh about it. Yeah, it was fucking.
I mean, definitely it was a fucked up thing, right? But yeah. But again, you know, you survived, right?
Yeah, I'm just happy.
If you had been dead, I wouldn't be laughing about it. But you survived, so
Exactly, man. Yeah. It's only a tragedy if it's really a tragedy. Right. I'm recovered, almost fully recovered now, so it's just a comedy.
Yeah, I would have to say that the smashing your face, halfway down is probably the best thing that could have happened to you. You look so much better now.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, man. It fixed my fucking cheekbone and made my jawline a little more defined, I guess.
Oh man. So what was were you seeing everything in slow motion, and as you're like, oh fuck, this is it for me, or you know what they say,
yeah,
when
definitely.
like your life, flashing in front of you and stuff. Did you get
So you definitely have your life flashing before your eyes. I guess things did slow down quite a bit. Again, it's hard for me to remember, but what I do remember is as I was sliding off that cliff, and I knew that like if I as soon as I leave and I start to drop, that's it, I'm finished. So as I start tumbling down, I'm like, well, it's been a good one. And like it's really weird because I'm dead serious when a sense of calm came over me. I was like, well, fuck it, man. If this is it, this is it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's been a good life. And then a secondary thought came into my mind of like, oh fuck, but my sister and my mom, my family's just gonna be so like heartbroken. And then I was like, fuck. And then the calm immediately went away. And then I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, I wake up.
Right. And all that probably just happened in a split second.
In a split second, yeah.
Damn,
in a split second.
Because I think that's what happens when they interview people who like jump off bridges and stuff and they survive, right? Mm-hmm. Right? It's like no matter how much they wanted to die at that moment, as soon as they jump, they're like, oh fuck.
Immediately I fucked up, man.
Immediate regret, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of see a bit of parallel there. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yes,
and
sir.
then how long did it take before you were able to wake up from from being passed out, right? Or did you wake up when they started to rescue you and stuff like?
Well, they said that I was out for a few minutes, and then when I came to, I was just so confused and fucked up. Like I barely knew what was going on. And actually, this will add to the brain injury kind of explain a lot of things once we talk about the symptoms and how I dealt with them and how I recovered and stuff.
Right.
But when I was getting taken out, they put me on a sled, a steel sled, and they strapped me like supine position onto the sled. They secure my neck and everything, but there's no pillow. So it's just the back of my head against
so it
the
was
steel
rattling?
sled. Yeah, because they had to go down moguls. They had to go down these moguls for 15 minutes. So you're already severely concussed, and then it's just and you're like, fuck. And that was the most pain I've ever felt in my entire life.
Wow.
Fucking horrendous, dude.
Wow.
That part was absolutely savage.
Holy shit, yeah, so huge shout out to all the search and rescue people, but you get a pillow or something.
Yeah, cheers guys, but fucking, yeah, man, secure that head better, dude. Secure that head better.
Or even a blanket, or maybe even wrap it with a jacket or
something.
You know?
Man, fucking something, dude.
Yeah, everybody's wearing a down jacket, right?
Yeah.
There's gotta be something.
Yeah,
Right.
so that caused a lot of motion sensitivity and headaches that for the last 2 years that I've been really struggling with.
All right. I can tell you're still having nightmares about it.
Yeah, man, it's fucked. It was so painful, man. Like I've been kicked and punched so many times in the head, but it doesn't even compare to already being concussed and just slamming your head against the sled for 15 minutes.
Holy shit, man. Man, yeah. So and then, how long before you start to recover from the hospital? And I mean, there's got to be like a recovery period, and then you start thinking, oh, you know what, something is actually seriously wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
What was that like?
Definitely. So I was like completely out of commission, just laying at home in my bed, just completely disabled for about 3.5, 4 weeks. And then after 4 weeks, I was able to go out for like little walks. I still had to wear my sunglasses all the time. Noise, like any kind of noise would like trigger a headache. And the biggest thing was constant headaches that were made so much worse by any kind of like bounce or vibration or impact with the floor. So as an example, as I was walking, every time my foot hit the floor, I could feel that vibration go into my skull. So even walking was out of the equation sometimes because it would trigger such a gnarly headache.
Did you try walking ninja style, like silent?
Yeah, definitely. So you start like doing weird things, like just walking on your toes to try to like absorb as much like of the force as possible. And from that point, gradually, I was desensitizing myself to all of the aforementioned symptoms, the sound sensitivity, the light sensitivity, the headaches, the motion sensitivity. And by maybe 3 or 4 months after the injury, I was like okay enough to like start getting back into work. I was able to like lift weights, and I wasn't able to run yet, again, because of the impact. But I was even able to, remember you started taking me out to do some outdoor climbing.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I was even able to do that.
Which I regretted, right?
Yeah, that was a different story, dude.
That's a different story.
That's a different fucking story. Oh, man. That shit gave me fucking straight PTSD from the cliff, dude. I was looking down the wall. Fuck.
I know, man. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But anyways, we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another day. But yeah, so like 3-4 months after the fact, I was getting back into work. I was starting to do all different kinds of sports again.
Right. And by work, you mean like coaching people and training
coaching people,
right?
training
and so
people.
Because at that time you were either coaching people online or training them
in person.
In person, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was able to start doing all of that again. And honestly, the recovery trajectory just kept getting better and better and better, and I was seeing great gains with reducing all of my symptoms, but the 2 lingering symptoms were always the motion sensitivity, again from the impact and the bouncing and stuff, the cognitive problems,
Right.
so like memory loss and just feeling like very confused sometimes, and then the blurry vision, where I was just seeing double all the time.
All the time, or does it come and go?
All the time.
All the time.
Sometimes better, sometimes worse, but just always blurry vision.
Huh.
Then,
Yeah. And cognitive-wise, exactly like, is it always feel like you're kind of in a fog, or does it come and go, or is it specific tasks or situations that.
So
that
always in a fog, always in a fog, but made worse if, for example, you didn't sleep well or the headache is really bad, then the cognitive problems would be worse. And I'll give you an example, like it wasn't until about last year, so like a year after the injury, I remember celebrating one day because I was on the CRA website just doing my taxes and stuff. But you know how they have to, they send you a confirmation code, they text you a confirmation code, and then you got to look on your phone, okay, it's 634937, 6 digits. And then you got to remember the digits and type it into the computer. That day that I remembered all 6 digits, I was elated. I was like, holy fuck, I remembered 6 fucking digits in a row.
For 5 seconds?
Yeah, for 5 seconds. And so like that kind of gives you an idea of the extent.
Bring tears of joy to your
Seriously, man.
right now, man.
Seriously.
Man, can't
So yeah, everything was slowly getting better and better. But then about a year and a half ago, I went back into snowboarding when I was only about 70% recovered from all my symptoms. And then a couple days of riding, you know, like you hit some jumps, you do some, you have some falls and stuff. But I was having so much fun, I didn't realize that like the impact of the falls were really starting to fuck me up.
So it wasn't anything out of the ordinary falls, right? Like they were just regular falls.
Regular falls. There was one big one when I hit a jump and then I landed on a patch of ice. Boom. Where like you landed nicely, but you know, like the boom.
Right. Yeah, a little bit of whiplash.
Kind of whipped my head around a little bit. And then after that day, I was properly fucked. Everything came back. Like if I was 70% at that point, all my memory problems came back. The headaches came back 3 times as bad.
Oh,
the blurry vision came back
worse.
The blurry vision came back 3 times as bad. So then at that point, that was 2022 March. At that point, I just had to completely just leave work. I just couldn't work anymore. And for the next year and a half until present day, I've just been fucking shitty to say, but like properly disabled, where I was just at home, like trying to just manage the headaches, manage the cognitive problems, manage the fatigue and everything.
Yeah.
So,
dude, sounds like a really tough and long road to where you are right now. So I mean, the reason why I'm here today is because you have officially came out of that slump, right?
Yeah, man, I would say so.
Yeah, getting back into it, right? You started posting your coaching content again, right?
Yep.
Educational content again, right? And I think you're getting back into training people and everything too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, dude, that's awesome. So
couldn't be happier, man.
I know. So that's why I think the lesson. I mean, man, it kind of sucks that you have to learn that lesson, right? But I think it's also important. Like, how many fighters can is coming back from their concussions prematurely and only to get knocked out again?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely,
I
man.
can only imagine, right? For you, it's snowboarding, right? And then just taking a bad fall, and which is nothing out of the ordinary if you didn't have the pre-existing injuries, right? And then, but fighters, they would get knocked out, train for they would sit out for 6 months, 8 months, sometimes up to a year, and then they come back. But does the symptom or the injury ever completely go away?
Does the injury? So here's what is very...
Because you must have done a lot of self-research and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So here's what's very interesting, which is that unless there's so normally concussions, you get a concussion, then if you get an MRI with your brain, there's no physical damage. And that's 99% of concussions. Even the ones where you see some of the worst knockouts in the UFC or in professional boxing or kickboxing, when they're just flatlined for minutes, even if you were to still scan their brain, there would be no structural damage. That being said, the reason why you're getting all of the symptoms, the confusion, the fatigue, the memory loss, just everything that comes with a concussion, is because your brain is now in an energy deficit. Because when you get a concussion, basically your brain rattles, and then you can imagine the brain tissue inside kind of moves around like jello, kind of like you slap a piece of jello and it kind of just does this thing. But all this wobbling vibration stuff, that stretches all the neurons. That stretches all of the neurons, and when it stretches the neurons start to get excited. So it's an excitation response. But because it's such a massive excitation response, and it's so much more excited than in a normal condition, after the excitation response, you get a huge dip in energy. Almost it's like you drank 10 cups of coffee and then the crash that comes after 10 cups of coffee. So then your brain is in this energy loss or energy deficit state for anywhere from like 4 to 6 weeks. And normally after 4 to 6 weeks, that's when your brain can start producing the ATP again, and then you start to, that energy deficit recovers, and then you're fully back to normal. So it's actually nothing to do with like structural damage of the brain. All of those symptoms are more like the brain playing tricks on itself because it was previously in a super excited state where all the neurons were firing all at once, and now they all stop firing. And so now everything's confusing and everything's fucked up. Your cognition, your vision, your balance, everything's fucked up because of that energy deficit. But here's the thing. A lot of people, as you said, go right back into activity before they've fully recovered from that energy deficit. So they're always kind of, whether it's like you're a kickboxer or whatever kind of athlete, you're training with like the emergency brakes on, if that makes sense. Because you're just using your willpower to force yourself to keep going, but your brain is only at like 60% capacity energy-wise. And that's what causes the long-term problems, and that's what fucked me up. So if there's anything to be taken away from this whole conversation, it's if you get a concussion, rehab that shit properly. It's no fucking joke, man. The problems can last for years and years and years.
Okay. All right. So, that is very interesting. So, are those like more? Is that like the more recent way of people doing these research, or has that?
That is the most, because before they doctors used to think that when you get a concussion, it's like a brain bleed.
Right.
They used to always I don't know if you've ever had like a medical professional describe a concussion to you, but even when I was a teenager and I would go to the hospital for a concussion, they would say that my brain is bruised. It's like a bruising. It's not a bruising. There's no blood, there's not a bruising. It's that the brain got stretched, it got super excited, and then everything calmed down. Different way to look at it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so, but doesn't that also mean that if you give it enough time to catch up on the energy deficit, then potentially you can make 100% recovery every single time?
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, and so this is an important piece of the puzzle from recovering from any kind of brain injury, which is that even when the brain has structurally fully healed itself again, and that energy deficit is gone, you will still have functional deficits, meaning, for example, my blurry vision, or my confusion and memory loss, or my headaches. There's nothing to do with the structure. My brain is perfectly fine. If you were to scan it, granted, when they scanned my brain, they found a lot of scar tissue in my frontal lobe. So that's a different thing, but it was still, my brain was fully healed. My brain was fully healed even though there was scar tissue, but the symptoms that I was feeling had nothing to do with the structure of my brain. It was really my brain playing tricks on itself, if that makes sense. Almost like a PTSD, like a somatic body-based PTSD.
Okay.
So every time, for example, I would try to go for a run, and the jarring impact of every time I would land my foot and I would feel that vibration going into my skull, that wasn't me damaging my brain further at all. There was no damage. I wasn't damaging my brain at all. It was just my brain playing tricks on me because, again, just like PTSD, it's thinking like, oh shit, like we don't like impact anymore. This motherfucker's been giving us impact on impact on impact for years and years and years. I'm sick of this shit. Every time there's gonna be a new impact, I'm just gonna trigger a massive 10 out of 10 headache.
So they want you to stop, basically.
They want you to stop, exactly. But the way to get out of these long-term post-concussion symptoms isn't to rest more, as some of my neurologists said, which I'm very upset about some of the healthcare that I got. Different story. The way out of these concussion symptoms, these long-term post-concussion symptoms, is not to rest. And it's certainly not to medicate with pain medications. One of the most important things I learned through this whole journey is the quote, "The only way out is through." So if you're getting headaches from walking, guess what you have to do?
Walk more?
You gotta fucking walk more. If you're getting memory loss from, I don't know, you listen to music too loud and then it triggers a headache and then it fucks your whole memory, guess what you have to do? You gotta listen to more loud music.
Go to a metal concert.
Yeah, maybe not to that extent. But if the only way out is through with all of these post-concussion symptoms, if the only way to get yourself back to 100% is to go right into the activities that trigger the symptoms, well, then the only way to go into those activities without kind of just imploding into like a panic attack is to develop a lot of mindfulness. And so that is the absolute key to recovering from brain injury and any kind of chronic pain. Because when that pain would come on, let's say I was pushing myself to go for an extra long walk, the headache would come. Once the headache comes, you start to notice a little loop in your mind where it's like, oh shit, like I got a fucking headache. Like this definitely means that my brain is permanently fucked. I should probably stop right now. If I don't stop, the headache's gonna get worse. And if the headache gets worse, that means my brain is getting more and more dysfunctional. It's getting more and more broken. So I better fucking stop now. So you get into these negative thought patterns.
Which makes it worse, right?
Which makes it worse rather than being mindful about it. And by being mindful, what I mean is just accepting all of the sensation, as uncomfortable as it is, accepting all the sensation without judgment, with an attitude of curiosity and openness rather than freaking out about it, and just letting all the sensation kind of just pass through. Just kind of run its course.
Yeah, because I think it makes so much sense. I know you said that that's probably a conversation for a different time, but I feel like it's a relevant conversation.
Sure.
You know, with the healthcare that you got. You
Yeah.
know, because I'm thinking that we're seeing that happening in a lot of different areas, right? Not just brain health, but just overall healthcare. Now, I believe the system is broken.
It's so broken.
Yeah, it's broken right now, right? So because so can you talk a bit because really, you shouldn't have to be doing all the research and everything that's fine to find this out for yourself so you can help yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Then what the fuck are we paying all the
exactly.
health professionals
Where are my
for?
tax dollars going
and
to?
Why do they deserve the high salaries or whatever the money they're making? And they're frankly wasting their time going to all these medical schools and just to come out and you have to do all the work.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah. So what kind of medical advice did the healthcare professionals give you? But healthcare professionals were not shitting on you guys.
It's the system.
It's the system, right?
Yeah, a lot of these doctors go into it with the best intentions. Like truly are amazing people. But just like any politician goes into politics with the best intentions, eventually the system just sucks you in and you just follow the status quo. So
or you get kicked out.
Or you get kicked out. Exactly. So anyways, the story with the way I was misled with the healthcare system was that I ended up seeing over the course of the last 2 years a lot of physios who would do certain treatments on me, like neck massages to get rid of the headaches, visual vestibular drills to kind of get rid of the blurry vision. Physios are all awesome, right? All of these drills and exercises that they made me do are good, but they didn't teach me about the foundation of recovery, which is number one, the mindset of recovery. That's like the foundation of the pyramid. And by mindset, I mean just teaching you to be as mindful as possible. When the symptoms come on, don't freak out. Again, you accept the symptoms with an attitude of curiosity and openness and non-judgment. You let the symptoms just pass through on its own course, and you don't add fuel to the fire by freaking out about it or feeling stressed about it. Yeah. It is what it is, and you're just gonna have to let it run its course. So that's the foundation, right? And then the second kind of piece of the pyramid is just your like general lifestyle things to recover. So like how good is your nutrition? Are you doing all the anti-inflammatory things you should be doing, like sleep, maybe cold showers, taking supplements that are anti-inflammatory? Of course, diet is the most important for managing inflammation. And are you exercising every day? Right. All of these things. Right. And then the top of the pyramid, once you have the mindset and once you have the general health stuff, then the top of the pyramid is when you do the specific rehab exercises, like the visual vestibular stuff and the neck massages and all that kind of stuff. But nobody had taught me about the base of the pyramid, which was the missing puzzle piece.
Yeah, so to be fair, I think the physios are doing their jobs because they're really only responsible for the top part, right? Absolutely. But I think like the brain experts are supposed to handle the foundations, right?
For sure. And so like so getting to the brain experts, like I said, the physios were doing their job perfectly, but the GPs that I had and the neurologists that I talked to, all were trying to, instead of discussing mindfulness and mindset as the first topic of conversation, instead of mentioning exercise and meditation and sleep and nutrition, which was never talked about on these 30+ minute phone calls, the first topic of conversation was pain pills. The very first topic of conversation was pain pills. So they would be telling me things like, oh, hey, try this try this pain medication, try this antidepressant. Antidepressant? I have a fucking concussion. What antidepressant? So they tell me to take all these pills. And then they're starting to introduce ideas into mine. I remember there was one lady, this one neurologist, who I was saying, okay, well, sure, I'm open to trying these pills. You're the expert. You're the expert. I'm fully open to trying these pain pills and antidepressants. But I've already done the research myself. I read through the meta-analyses of how these antidepressants and pain pills, when they're prescribed for concussion symptoms, there's one specific meta-analysis. And you're familiar with what meta-analysis is? It's when they
No, I'm not that educated, man.
They write a research paper, right? They write a research paper that amalgamates, that basically combines hundreds of different studies on that exact topic, and they kind of average out the results. Yeah. So it's kind of like the gold standard for figuring out what's what in medicine. So there was one specific meta-analysis that showed that these antidepressants and pain pills they were trying to prescribe me had anywhere from a 9 to 11% success rate. 9 to 11% success rate, but with the potential side effects, suicidal ideation, depression, hair loss, mood swings, insomnia, erectile dysfunction. So you're going to try to give me this thing that might give me suicidal ideation and erectile dysfunction with a 9% success rate, and I would bring this up to these doctors, and then they would start introducing these concepts or these ideas like, oh, but like some patients, if they don't take these pills, they end up having chronic headaches for the rest of their life. And we don't know what to do about it. The best we have at the moment is these pain pills. And so they start introducing these ideas that sometimes, if the post-concussion symptoms have been long enough, you start to get it for life.
Yeah.
It's just for life. And you have to take these pills for life in order to manage it. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I'm trying to defer, like they're the experts. So I'm like, okay.
Fuck, man. But you know what I hate about this whole thing the most?
What?
It's like most of the health, the doctors, right? They're not stupid. They understand it. They know it. But the system makes it so that there's something in it for them.
Yeah, definitely.
To prescribe the drugs, right? Yeah, then they somehow find different ways to justify their actions, right?
Yeah.
So that pisses me off so
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely.
And now they're using their status as the expert of authority, and then they try to scare the shit out of you into obedience.
Yeah.
So
dude, it was horrible, man. And so
this time we're calling you out. So
yeah, fuck you guys.
Fuck you guys.
With wholeheartedly fuck you guys.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that as I was, again, 3 different neurologists all told me a very similar story. But as soon as I realized, again, these phone calls would be like 30 plus minutes. As soon as I realized that they didn't even bother to bring up these topics of conversation that are low risk, high reward, meditation, sleep, nutrition, exercise.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen if you try?
Exactly,
right?
but my point is that because they didn't bring this up, they didn't even talk about it for even 5 seconds, I was like, okay, well then why would I trust their opinion to just go? So luckily I had the wherewithal to just say, okay, fuck it, I'm not taking these antidepressants for concussion. Antidepressants for concussion? What the fuck, dude? Like,
makes no fucking sense. It sounds like we wish we were joking.
Yeah, seriously, man. I really.
Oh my god.
Yeah, fucking nuts, dude.
Holy shit. Man, the thing is, like, can you imagine how many people actually listened to all these shitty advice and then ended up being so much worse off?
But that's why these doctors, I'm sure that's why these doctors, I truly believe it's not like they're lying on purpose, but because it's almost like an endless cycle. They start telling their patients this stuff. Then their patients end up being headaches for life and pain pills and antidepressants for life.
Deep down, you guys know you're fucking lying. But because you want to be able to sleep at night, so you force yourself to believe in your own fucking lies. That's how I would do it if I were in your situation. So I get it. Yeah. But it's time to wake up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's
seriously, man. I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, no, seriously, me too. And again, to be devil's advocate, I guess the healthcare system is super overloaded now. If they had more time than a 30-minute call, maybe if it was like a 2-hour appointment where they're getting a full scope, a full idea of my entire lifestyle from top to bottom. They're getting an idea of how my thinking process is, what my stress levels are. Maybe it would be different.
I don't know, man. I feel like the same can be accomplished in 30 minutes, right? So here I'll do it in 1 minute.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, what about you try, eating healthy, exercise for the next 2 weeks? Let's see if that helps with the symptom or not. And if it doesn't, then let's talk again and see what happens.
Yeah, I guess it could be like that. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. But
see, how fucking hard was that?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I still don't want to believe how fucked the healthcare system is, but it is what it is.
I guess the first step is for everybody to start waking up to it and know in our hearts that it is fucked up and accept the fact. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, definitely. And another important topic with this whole brain health recovery, which can be applied to any kind of injury, is just the importance of advocating for yourself. And so what does that mean? That means understanding that recovering from any injury has to follow that pyramid, advocating for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so advocating yourself is...
Can you recap the pyramid again at the end?
Yeah, so it's like the bottom is your mindset, right? Are you in this headspace where you're constantly freaking out about your symptoms? Let's say you snapped your elbow after a hard roll or something, and you're trying to recover from this injury. So every time that you try to pick up this cup of coffee and you feel that sharp pain, are you freaking out? Oh God, this means my elbow is gonna be fucked for life. If I don't go to fucking Tijuana right now and get stem cells injected into it, then it's gonna be like my elbow's just finished. Are you out of that mindset? Are you able to take up this mindset of just calm? For right now, it is what it is. I'm just gonna let the symptoms run their course, and while they run their course in the meantime, I'm gonna try to educate myself and research what the best next step or the next course of action should be in a calm state rather than in a panic state. That's the fucking base of the pyramid. For just to be able to accept it is what it is, be fully mindful about what's happened to you and your injury, and then you can start to make better decisions for yourself. And better decisions means moving one level up the pyramid, which is to start to address all of the lifestyle factors that are absolutely mandatory for healing from any injury. Mandatory. Pain pills, not mandatory for healing from injury. Doing special rehab stuff, not mandatory for your injury. Going to some guru that's gonna, I don't know, fucking touch heal you or whatever, definitely not mandatory.
Only if they touch you in the right spots.
Yeah, maybe. But what is mandatory for healing is, again, that second base of the pyramid, which is the lifestyle stuff, exercise every day, sleep 8+ hours every day, good nutrition, meditation, and then your other maybe anti-inflammatory practices, sauna, cold, stuff like that. Then the top of the pyramid is that's when you go to all the specialty things. Again, going with the example of if you snapped your elbow while you're doing jiu-jitsu, that's when you go to the physios so that they can give you the special exercises to fully get that thing from all the way to 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The pyramid, man. The pyramid is so fucking important.
I know, yeah. So continuing on your thought on advocating for yourself.
Advocating for yourself, that's right. So you basically have to be your own coach, you have to be your own secretary when it comes to rehabbing or recovering from any kind of chronic illness or injury. So you have to, number one, you have to get a really good GP. That's number one. Because although the healthcare system is broken, you still need to leverage it to get your CT scans, your MRI scans, your blood work, your hormone testing, all of these things. So number one, get yourself a good GP. Not a GP, and it's very difficult in this day and age to get a good GP, but it's difficult, but you still have to fucking do it if you want to have a chance of getting to full recovery. So number one, get yourself a good GP. Number two, go to your GP and start asking for the blood work, the scans that are necessary and all that stuff, because you're paying for it with your taxes anyways, so you might as well leverage it. That's why you need the GP.
Yeah, if you don't ask for it, they won't do it.
If you don't ask for it, they won't do it. Then on top of that, you gotta start going one by one. You gotta go one by one with every treatment modality that you can think of. So for me, I'll just bring it back to my example because it's the easiest to explain this way. I started with doing a lot of RMT. Then I'd run that experiment for 2 weeks. Okay, maybe that only gave me a 5% bump. Okay, I'll keep doing RMT, maybe a little bit, but what's the next thing I can try? Okay, now I gotta try visual vestibular stuff, and I'll try that for 2 months. Okay, that maybe gave me like a 10% boost. Okay, so it's a little bit effective, but I'm starting to hit the point of diminishing returns. What's the next thing I have to try? Okay, the next thing I have to try is go to a neuropsychologist. Okay, I do the neuropsychologist for 3 months. That got me another 20%. So you just have to keep playing this game of not thinking that there's one magic fucking thing that's going to fix you. You have to go to every single thing that's going to fix you, but in an organized way. So you can't just do your physio for 1 day here, then your neuropsychologist for 1 day here, then your chiropractor for 1 day here. You have to do it in a sustained way. So you got to try this guy out for 2 weeks, then take the lessons learned and apply it to your recovery routine. Then you got to try out this guy for 3 months and take the lessons learned and apply it to your recovery. Then you got to try out this modality for 3 months. But that takes, again, a lot of effort about researching for yourself.
Right.
All of these modalities that help you heal from whatever injury it is. And you can't just stop at one. There's so many people, even with, because I'm in it now, concussion is very lonely. So I was like in a bunch of these like concussion Facebook groups and stuff, just to try to find like what was working for other people and stuff like this. But there's so many people out there that are like, oh, my concussion's for life, dude. Like I tried chiro, and then I tried physio, and then I tried visual vestibular, and I tried it for like 6 months, all these things, and like my symptoms didn't get better. And so like, I'm just fucked for life. No, you're not, dude. You tried 3 out of like a potential 100 things. So one of the most important parts of advocating for yourself is just being a dog about it. You just don't stop until you're fully recovered. You just keep trying new things, keep trying a new thing, keep trying a new thing, keep trying a new thing. And then whatever works, you put that into your recovery routine, whether that's like for me, it's like a morning routine that takes 2 hours now with all this stuff that I have to do. But yeah, man, advocating for yourself is so important because nobody's gonna do it for you.
Yeah, man.
If you try to call up your GP and be like, hey, I got a elbow injury, what should I do? They're not gonna give you the whole picture. They're gonna give you one or two.
Thought about amputation.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna give you 1 or 2 suggestions. But the key is when you're trying to recover from any kind of chronic injury or illness, you have to do your own research, and then you have to just check off every single checkbox that there is if you want it. Because you have to give yourself a chance.
Yeah, amen, amen to that.
You have to give yourself a chance.
Yeah, so I think the most important lesson is, I mean, it's really about everything else in life anyways, right? We have to take personal responsibility, right?
Yeah.
It's so cliche, but it's unfortunately like most people don't, right? You know, you're always blaming this and that, this person, that person, the government, whatever, you know, Donald Trump. Yeah, but there's so much you can accomplish if you just take personal responsibility and handle your shit. Yeah. You know, so yeah, dude, man, it's been a great conversation, and I do want to, you know, ask you if people want to reach out to you and maybe get more, you know, advice, or because I'm pretty sure you're going to be open to helping anybody who have similar issues.
Oh, absolutely,
you know,
man.
I mean, I don't know how much you can help, but you would definitely be able to say, hey, this is what.
Point them in the right direction,
right,
at least.
This is my journey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how can people find you, Patrick?
You can find me on Instagram at thoughtfulmeathead. I post anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week on super practical tips on strength training for sports and for life. And then you can also find me at my website, pkhealth.ca. I also write extensively on that website about how to recover from injuries and how to optimize sports performance.
Nice, there you go. We'll make sure to include all those, the Instagram handle and the website in the show notes. I think that's how I'm supposed to say it. I'm still trying to get
Something about click here or click down there. Make sure you ring the bell, subscribe. I don't fucking know, dude.
I know, but anyways, hopefully this really helped you. Dude, I had a awesome time talking to you today.
Thanks, man. Me too.
Yeah,
it's good to get all these things off my chest. Because I feel like it's like I spent the last 2 years like on this fucking, I didn't choose it, but I've like been on this fucking, like, it's like I got a master's degree in like recovering from chronic injury now. And so it's just nice that I can share it. Like, again, we're talking about it's only a tragedy if you just waste all the knowledge, right? Now it's just, now my injury is just a comedy on top of the things I learned. Hopefully I can just help other people take the faster route than I did.
There you go. And then on that note, gonna end the podcast here, and we'll see you next time, motherfuckers.
That was sick. That was sick.